Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the covered patio here at Rotary Hospice. My name is Sarah Hamza, and I'm the chair of the Stratford Perth Hospice Foundation. It is my pleasure to welcome you here this evening for our second annual virtual Lights of Love tree lighting ceremony. The music you just heard was from Stratford's own Maggie Foster and John Yunt. Thank you both for lighting us this evening. As I said, applause, muted mitten applause. As I said, my name is Sarah, and I've been on the board since 2017, and I'm joined here tonight by my colleague Sue, who's also on the board of the chair of the Hospice Care, Avon Maitland.
Oh, double fister. Okay. Hi, everyone. Yes, as Sarah mentioned, my name is Sue Wakeland, and I want to welcome you here as well. It is much nicer this year than last year when it was storming and about, a foot of snow had just fallen. So, so far the weather is holding out great. As Sarah said, I am the chair of the Hospice Care Avon Maitland board, and I also sit on the foundation board. The HCAM board overlooks or oversees the operational side of the hospice, while Sarah's oversees the fundraising aspects. Like Sarah, I've been privileged to be involved since 2017, almost 5 years. And yes, this is one of the 2 outdoor courtyards of the Rotary Hospice, and they have been well used, I can tell you, particularly with COVID, but lots of families have outdoor visits on these courtyards.
Before we light up Rotary Hospice, I would like to take a few moments, Sue and I would like to take a few moments to thank some very special guests that are here with us this evening. First of all, our illuminating sponsors, Lynn and Bill Whitmore. Thank you both for your support in illuminating Rotary Hospice in these short and dark days for the 2nd year in a row.
Okay. And we also want to thank our returning sponsors, CR Plastics, who are not only gold sponsors this year, but whose furniture you might recognize on our patio. All donated as part of the capital campaign as we built and furnished the hospice. Also returning this year is our silver sponsor, Tracy Ivanishin, with Up Level Global. We would also like to thank Janet, James, and Thomas for their silver sponsorship in memory of their mother, Agnes Gaffney.
Thank you to our musical guests, Maggie Foster and John Yunt. Maggie most recently wowed crowds at the Handbags for Hospice event held in October.
We considered the mics. Okay, here you go. Hospice RN, Brenda Daly is sitting to my right, and Brenda is a member of the critical care team here at Rotary Hospice. She's going to share with us not only what Rotary Hospice means to her, she will also be reading a message from a family member whose loved one was a resident here this past summer.
And last but not least, not on camera with us tonight, but still bravely here today celebrating members of our board, staff, and volunteers, as well as Adam from Whiteman, who is ensuring that the residents of the hospice and their visitors will be able to experience tonight's ceremony from the comfort and warmth of their rooms. Thank you, Adam and Whiteman, for making this happen.
Okay. Well, let's not forget, we actually do have other surprise guests. So all I can say is please watch till the end of our presentation.
And before we hand the mic over to Brenda, I'd like to take a few moments to say thank you on behalf of our boards. These past 2 years have been challenging, to say the least, for us all. Your support of the Rotary Hospice has been and continues to be heartwarming to everyone. Thank you. I also wanted to mention how grateful we are to the care team who have continued through these unimaginable times to care for our residents and their loved ones. Tonight is an opportunity for many of us to gather, even virtually, and take a moment to remember someone, Maybe someone who has passed away here at the hospice, or someone who we lost many years ago, or perhaps just someone who we cannot be with right now, even though we wish we could be in these difficult COVID times. Light and love are very important to us here at Rotary Hospice.
Thanks, Sarah. Totally agree. If you haven't been to Rotary Hospice, you may not be aware of what we call our honor guard ceremony. When a resident passes away, the staff and volunteers gather in the main lobby, which is behind me here, to form an honor guard while the family accompanies their loved one out of the building. A loved one is then invited to place a floating candle in their memory. And this is actually the bowl that sits in the lobby. And that's where the candle remains for 24 hours in remembrance of their loved one. Tonight, I'd like to invite all of you to light your own light of love. Feel free to share your photos and messages to our Facebook page.
In an awkward mic handing over moment, thank you, Sue. At this time, I will ask Brenda to share what hospice means to her.
Okay, I have a few words here. I've made some points. So good evening. Thank you for coming and being a part of this special night. My name is Brenda Daly, and I'm currently working here as a registered RPN here at Rotary Hospice. I say currently because I actually did start here as a PSW 2 years ago. 2019, and I started casually, and I was going back to school to get my RPN. So my first exposure to palliative care was when I worked in long-term care, and I was in my late 30s, and I was so scared because it's just a fear of the unknown and just making sure that you're doing what's best for your patients and their families. So little did I know that they had the same fears because they had no idea what was going to be happening with themselves, and they had the same emotions. So it actually ended up working out so nicely that it was just me being present there, holding hands, and just even giving them a simple glass of water was so appreciated. So, and then that's how I got started in knowing that I know that this was for me. When I started here at the hospice, I was just so amazed by the care team and how we work together as a team. And I'll explain a little bit. So when we come in on a 12-hour shift, there's an RN, RPN, and a PSW. And we make sure that we work the same across the board. So we make sure all goals of care are met with each patient and family. And we worked like that throughout our shift. Sorry, I'm just kind of reading my points. I'm relating it, but I'm trying to have a conversation at the same time. So I'll give you an example of the continuity of that we worked the same. We had a compliment in a resident passing by their family, and they had said that we are one person. So if you imagine that anything that a PSW did, anything that an RN did, or any sort of task that an RPN did, we all did it the same way. And that experience to them and that continuation and continuity was really important. So one person isn't saying one thing and one person doing another. We were all on the same page. So that was an amazing compliment to know that we work really well together. So another aspect of our staff is, of course, our on-call physicians, and they're amazing. They are there in case I'm sorry, I'm starting to shiver here. So they're amazing at answering any questions that we may have, making sure that symptoms are managed for each patient and treatments, and no question is a dumb question. So that's really nice to know, especially as a new RPN. It's good to know. So when I look at how we work as a team and everything, and when I explain that we do care for everyone, it's not just patients. Like, we look at families and making sure that their care needs are met as well, because this is not an easy time for anyone, and we focus on making sure that they have the right support system. And what I mean by that is that If it's not handled here in-house by a bereavement coordinator, Jacqueline Turbin, she's amazing, then we make sure that they have support systems at home, and having those difficult conversations is really essential. Because they have to make sure that they're, at their best for their loved one, So that's a big deal for me. And I think that's the reason why I love it here so much, is that it's not just with my nursing abilities and how I'm gaining and learning. It's being able to build that trust and that therapeutic relationship with family and the patient. And then being able to have that difficult conversation and open up those emotions, because when you think about it at end of life, you don't want any regrets, and you want to be able to be at peace and be present. So that's what I really love about palliative care. So I think that's all. I'm shivering.
It's cold. Thanks, Brenda. I understand that you also have another message to share with us tonight from a family member who lives out of town, but who wanted our viewers to know what Rotary Hospice meant to their family.
So I don't know how I'm going to hold both, but if that's okay, I'll try one. So that might work. Thank you. Teamwork. So this is a message from Farah Jamani, and whose mother, Dashi Jamani, was a resident here at Rotary Hospice this past summer. So these are her words. Thank you for allowing me to share our family's history and experience with the Rotary Hospice and the end-of-life care for my mom, Dashi. For what my mom, Dashi Janami, received. To start the story, we go back to 1948, where my mom was born in Uganda as the youngest of 11 children. She immigrated to the UK, where she was in her early 20s to finish her schooling, and where she met my dad and married there. Seeking new opportunities for both their careers, they immigrated once again to Canada, settling in Stratford in 1974. My dad was a laboratory technician in the hematology at Stratford General Hospital, and my mom was working at Blackstone. Perhaps some of you here were here long enough to remember Blackstone. I tell you this beginning to impart you the tenacity, resilience, and determination my mom had, which began at a young age. Their life changed once again in 1978 when they welcomed me to the world. However, it wasn't smooth sailing, and I had numerous allergies and health issues, warranting many hospital trips and stays. This prompted a major career shift for my mom. So in 1983, I was starting kindergarten, and she began training to be an RN at Conestoga College of Nurses here in Stratford. This is further evidence of my mom's strength of spirit. Anyone with children knows how hard it is as a parent when they're well, and never mind when they were sick. When she finished her studies, she began to work at Stratford General Hospital in the medical surgical floor. There she soon began impacting any patients and families' lives who were fortunate enough to be her patient. A hug, a warm cup of tea, and a shoulder to cry on was her standard of nursing care. These are values that she led her life with. Anyone who was ill or needed or in need, whether patients or friends, always knew Dashi would be counted on. A cancer diagnosis in 2000 cut short Mom's career as a nurse. After many surgeries, she was deemed cured, but the emotional and physical scars remained. Many future surgeries and illnesses came her way in the following 20 years, but nothing could change her determination to fight them, her resilience, and her love and care, especially of her family. In 2014 and in 2017, I was blessed with two beautiful children who soon became the jewels in my mom's eyes. Frequently, trips to Stratford were marked by the smells of cookies and baking and meals being prepared, all in honor of them. Mom's love language was acts of service and food for sure. Sadly, the joy of our family came to a grinding halt in 2019 with the loss of my dad. Diagnosed with prostate cancer when I was pregnant with my first child, his final days were spent in London Health Sciences palliative care ward and his family by his side. It was one and only time he had ever stayed in a hospital, even though he worked in one for his entire career. Though I can say nothing bad about the care that he received, in my heart I knew that there had to be better, a less clinical feeling place, and still had supports for family and patients. Sadly, our family's pain continued this past summer when my mom fell ill. As a nurse, she knew what the path ahead would hold for her. She also knew it was important in her life. As she knew what was important in her life, her family, and she was going to be able to enjoy her quality of life. And ultimately, she knew she knew she had to make a hard decision. A decision my husband and I, through our grief, supported. She chose palliative care. I voiced my desire, and I wanted my mom at hospice and not the hospital. And as soon as we arrived, I burst into tears. We felt home, we felt loved, and we felt heard. We felt supported. We were shown a beautiful private room, larger than my first condo. Full floor-to-ceiling windows looking over gorgeous gardens, another passion of my mom's, and we were invited to make ourselves at home. The staff ensured my mom was warm and cozy with handmade quilts. But more than that, they introduced themselves and they made us feel like nothing was too big of an ask, and they were not rushed. The next morning, Mom was asked if she felt like eating, and she hadn't been eating much at the hospital. So I asked what was on the menu, and I figured she could eat something small. Our nurse said, "Whatever you like. I can make eggs, smoothies, muffins, or would you like ice cream?" Nothing was too big to ask. Mom demolished a plate of homemade scrambled eggs, served the way she would have had for her family on a silver tray with proper silverware. I share this with you to allow you to understand the home-like feel of hospice. I joke with the staff, yes, and I joke in entirely inappropriate places at times, that I felt like this was a 5-star spa I'd been to. Quiet, reflective, attentive staff, and most peaceful physical spaces, offering hands-on individualized care with my mom's needs in mind. Not only was I allowed to stay every night, but I was encouraged with my nightly bed turned down while my mom was readied for the evening. Their massive family room allowed me to stay on their premises to be with my mom. Family bathroom, sorry about that. Most importantly, my children were comfortable coming here. My older one was traumatized by the experience of my dad passing in the hospital and carried that fear to my mom's bedside when she was in the hospital. I am blessed to say that I am blessed that she and my mom were able to create happy, loving memories at the hospice with pizza and movie nights. And being able to curl up with my mom on a proper cozy bed, and because of the space and the grounds, they were comfortable being here for longer than a brief visit, and it gave them time together with my mom. The staff here ensured I was looked after too, as hospice is for the entire family. One afternoon, on a particular night, I just broke down with the nurse, and she knew the best way to help. She brought me tea and homemade cookies. Nothing was going to change the pain that I felt, but compassion would ease the sting. And on July 27th, my mom passed away with me holding her hand. The hole in our hearts will never be filled. Our life will continue to grow around it. What comforts me the most is knowing that my mom died with dignity, compassion, and on her own terms. What Rotary Hospice is to thank for that. I am truly humbled and grateful for their care at the worst time of my life. We all know death is a certainty. We all know that death is a certainty. What is uncertain is what it would look like for each one of us. So I invite you to think about what you would want for your loved one and for yourself when this time comes. If it's dignity, respect, compassion, care for your families, please support the Lights of Love holiday campaign. I certainly didn't know that hospice was funded primarily by donations, and Perth County has come out in full force to ensure that it was built. Together, let's continue to support the outstanding work Rotary Hospice does and what it means for our community. And let's light up Rotary Hospice with love. Thank you.
Brenda, thank you for sharing Farah's words. Those were incredibly moving and so important on a night like this where we gather to understand the impact that we have on families' lives. The services the hospice provides, the building itself was fundraised by the community, but many people aren't aware that the operations of the hospice continue to need fundraising. 50% of the funds to stay in the hospice are provided by the Ministry of Health, but 50% are through donations, which means that no patient or family pays for the services they receive at the hospice. It's all provided completely free of cost. So to that end, it's a great opportunity tonight to help contribute to that by choosing to light up hospice. For those of you that have already contributed, thank you. And for those considering a donation, please look to rotaryhospice.ca for more information. Any funds donated between now and December 31st will be recognized by the campaign.
Okay. Well, before we ask Lynn and Bill to plug in the lights, I am thrilled to turn the floor over once again to Maggie Foster and John Yunt.
I hear a lot about sinners. Don't think that I'll be a saint. I might go down to the river, 'cause the way that the sky opens up when we touch, baby, I can't explain the way you hold me, hold me, hold me, hold me, hold me. Feel so holy, 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 holy. Oh God, running to the altar like a track star. Can't wait another second. The way you hold me, hold me, hold me, hold me, hold me. Feel so holy.
I don't do well with the drama. No, I can't stand it being fake. oh God. Right to the altar like a track star. Can't wait another second, oh God. Right to the altar like a track star. Can't wait another second. The way you hold me, hold me, hold me, hold me, hold me, feels so holy.
Thank you, Meg. Thank you, Maggie and John. That's exactly what we need on this cold night. Thank you for warming us up. So, shall we go see if Bill and Lynn are ready to light up the tree? All right, Brenda and Sue. Bill and Linda, are you ready? Okay, everyone, we're going to ask for your help in counting down now. So we're going to start at 5, and here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Woo! And gathered virtually to say that music and lights and love have warmed our hearts. It is our absolute pleasure to thank our sponsors, to thank our musical guests, to thank Nurse Brenda, to thank Farah for sharing her story and reminding us why we are all here. This has been a wonderful expression of love and community, and we send you off with our absolute best for the holidays. Warmest wishes.